Villanueva, Villar, Zubiri, Senate President Soto III.
With 16 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have with us today some special guests, particularly the head of the Civil Service Commission, Commissioner Alicia de la Rosa Bala, together with Assistant Commissioner Ronquillo, and members of the Civil Service Commission. We also have with us, Mr. President, PESA Director General, Brigadier General Charito Plaza, and Mayor Judy Amante of Cabadbaran, Agusan del Norte, Mr. President.
We welcome all our guests to the Senate this afternoon. Thank you.
And I believe we also have our brand new DBM Secretary in the lounge today, Mr. President. Mr. President, will we dispense with the reading of the journals of the 11th session, Wednesday, August 14, 2019, and the 12th session, Monday, August 19, 2019, and consider them approved as also amended from yesterday's discussion, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. Motion is approved. The journals are approved as amended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I avail of the privilege hour, Mr. President? With the permission of the body.
Yes, the Majority Leader is recognized, Senator Migz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I took this opportunity to avail of the privilege hour, especially the fact that we still do not have committee reports, and we can discuss. I encourage our colleagues, Mr. President, to discuss about their advocacies, although if they can hear me, Mr. President, because I can't hear myself, Mr. President.
May we ask some more, a little more silence from the hall, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, as I said earlier, I encourage all our colleagues while we're still waiting for the committee reports from your committees to discuss and open up your advocacies during privilege hour the next few weeks. That's why I stand here today, Mr. President, as a matter of collective and personal privilege on an issue that affects every single person who has ever had to endure traffic in Metro Manila, particularly traffic along EDSA, that great avenue that has been canonized in our history books, the same EDSA that has now become historic for all the wrong reasons, being one of the densest urban thoroughfares in Southeast Asia, if not the world. Probably, Mr. President, also the most number of memes for a highway could be credited to EDSA. Meron pa nga ako nabasa kung gusto mong maging malapit sa inyong mahal sa puso, pumunta po kayo sa EDSA at matagal-tagal po kayo pwede magkwentuhan doon. Then nakaupo pa kayo sa sasakyan ng halos 4 na oras. Mr. President, in 2016, exactly 3 years ago, August of 2016, I brought up the concept of inclusive mobility in this chamber. Inclusive mobility is a people-centric framework of mobility. It ensures that all sectors of society have access to safe and efficient transport systems, meaning in solving our traffic problems, we should not only focus on vehicular traffic, but we should also consider commuter experience and other means of moving our people around in our cities. Inclusive mobility is such that would increase productivity and support acceleration of economic growth. Recent studies show that economic cost of traffic in Metro Manila ranges from 3 to 3.5 billion pesos daily and continues to rise as traffic in Metro Manila worsens. It was then that I raised the proposal for the construction of elevated walkways along EDSA for the use of pedestrians and bikers. 3 years later, the project has gone unrealized, and the traffic in Metro Manila has worsened considerably, especially in the hellscape that is called EDSA. Mr. President, I even recall in the 2018 budget hearings, MMDA had said they had allotted 400 million for elevated walkways in the Ortigas EDSA area. And I'm surprised when we asked them last week during the hearing of Senator Grace Poe on the hearing on public services, they said there was no such funds. although there was an item on that particular budget, Mr. President, which was the 2019 budget. So I stand here today to restate my case and stress our urgent need to reorient our urban mobility scheme to be more inclusive and people-friendly. We can try all manners of regulations to control vehicular activity on EDSA, but the truth is, there is no controlling the kind of vehicular volume that avenue ferries every day. The only way to truly introduce changes is to create alternative channels of transport, preferably ones that are more favorable to commuters rather than motorists. When I gave my privilege speech in August of 2016, the volume on EDSA was at 360,000 vehicles a day. At the close of 2018, the numbers rocketed to 400,000 vehicles a day, going over the daily capacity of 280,000 or 288,000 vehicles by 40%. And reading the LTO statistics, we can clearly see a trend of growth in the number of vehicles in Metro Manila. In 2016, there were 2.4 million registered vehicles in the National Capital Region alone, and by 2017, that number ballooned to 20.6 million, and by 2018, it has gone up to 20.8 million vehicles. Every year, more Filipinos are adding to the already packed traffic situation as car prices and down payment schemes become more affordable. And we can only expect the numbers to steadily climb, Mr. President. Private vehicles comprise of over 80% of the volume in EDSA. The problem then does not really lie in the not just only lie in the pasaway, in the buses and jeeps, although they do not help the situation, but in the sheer number of private cars that clog EDSA every day. The question now is how to get drivers and riders out of their cars and into a mobilization framework that prioritizes people over motor vehicles. How do we get people to leave the comforts of private transport when commuting and navigating the sidewalks of EDSA as a pedestrian, which is a cumbersome, inconvenient, and often unsafe endeavor? We need to create walkable, bikeable cities, Mr. President. Currently, EDSA sidewalks supposedly for pedestrians and PWDs are narrow and overly crowded with vendors, parked vehicles, electric posts, plant boxes, not to mention pickpockets and other individuals of ill intent roaming about. These sidewalks are near unnavigable and make it difficult for pedestrians to walk from, say, a call center shift in Ortigas to a rented apartment along Boni, or for a TNVS food delivery rider stuck in whereabouts in Cubao to bike home to Quezon Avenue. An elevated walkway or bike lane along EDSA would open up a new people-centric avenue to connect Metro Manila's major business districts. We really must consider the alternative transport channel, as it will not only ease up vehicular traffic in our roads, but it will also be pro-poor, pro-people project that will give citizens of all walks of life an avenue for safe and easy mobility. Mr. President, I'm showing you pictures. These are pictures of countries that have adopted this system. Look at in Seoul, Korea. This was in Shanghai, China. The previous picture, this is in Bangkok, Thailand, Mr. President. You can see the traffic in Bangkok is legendary. And yet, they were able to create an alternative route for commuters, Mr. President. This is in Boston, Massachusetts. We could have our EDSA walkways look like this, comfortable, air-conditioned, all-weather, where our people can walk. It is not such a bad walk, Mr. President. From end to end of EDSA, from EDSA Ross Boulevard all the way to EDSA Balintawak, the corner of Balintawak, is 26 kilometers. And Makati to Ortigas is only 7 kilometers, Mr. President. That is nothing for Pia Cayetano. Senator Pia Cayetano can jog that, can go jogging in that, and she'll be there in how many minutes per kilometer? I think she probably runs below 4 minutes a kilometer. So definitely, she can be in her destination quite easily. And you know, when I went into, when I was in Singapore, their walkways, Mr. President, allowed people who had the motorized mopeds, naka-motorized moped sila po, may isang lane sila dun, so they can take this little scooter na, it's a moped. It's not a moped, it's like a two-wheeler na, yung para sa skateboard na may handle, yan, kind of, scooter bang tawag dyan? Kasi scooter din yung tawag sa motorsiklo. Pero, that can be utilized and easily packable in our backpacks. So our people can put it in their backpacks after work or during work, and then when they have to go home, they just put it out and use that in our elevated and protected walkways, Mr. President. So, as I said, these walkways will not discriminate between those who can afford to endure traffic in a luxury car and those who must resort to cheap, overcapacity open-air buses that are exposed to all the filth and smog in the city. These elevated walkways, everyone will be on equal footing to get where they need to be. We all have the support and cooperation of alternative transport advocates such as ALT, Mobility, and commuters groups like Move Manila in our bid to bring these elevated walkways to reality. The Filipino public has long been clamoring for positive change in the nation's traffic situation. I fully believe that this elevated walkway is a step towards that. And let us all work together towards a future of clean, safe, walkable cities that accommodate the need for the commuting public. Just this weekend, Mr. President, and I'd like to make this announcement, just this weekend, our dear Minority Floor Leader, Senator Franklin Drilon, was honored by the city of Iloilo and all the stakeholders because he has transformed what was once a dirty, noisy, I would say, deteriorating city to what it is now, one of the most livable cities of the country, and a walking city at that. If you have seen their esplanade, which will take them from one end of Iloilo City to the other, it is absolutely beautiful. It is now the peg of several cities and provinces. We are trying, Bukidnon and Cagayan de Oro, together with Senator Coco Pimentel, we're trying to do the same. Hopefully, one day, we can do what Senator Drilon has done for Iloilo City. So, Mr. President, and we have to give credit where credit is due. So it is possible, Mr. President, but we have to put all our minds, hearts, and resources to it. I'm prepared, Mr. President, to work for an institutional amendment with the permission of Senator Lacson in the 2020 budget and the permission of Senator Angara that will allot at least 1 billion pesos for phase 1 of this project connecting either Quezon City to Ortigas or Ortigas to Makati. And I enjoin my colleagues to support this institutional amendment and this endeavor to support the welfare of the Filipino public. I think, Mr. President, kung nagkakaproblema tayo sa additional trains and we're still waiting for the metro subway, which will be underground, which will take another 6 to 7 years to build, it is easy. This is a Makati walkway, Mr. President, done by the family of the Binays, and we have Senator Binay with us here. And if you walk around Ayala and the Ayala Center, you can go from one area to another without passing through the driveways and roads. It's all elevated, and it connects to all the malls, Mr. President. So it is quite convenient, and it's actually being used in the city of Makati. So, Mr. President, how I dream that one day I just get out of my house, walk towards EDSA, go up the elevated walkway, take my little scooter, end up here in the Senate without having to go through our thoroughfares or even step foot in EDSA, Mr. President, with these elevated walkways. I hope that dream will become a reality, and with all your support, the support of this chamber, we can make this happen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Before we refer your speech to the Committee on Public Services, I know that you're still very young. So, do you know the original name of EDSA?
Highway 54. I was told by Senator Recto, who's slightly older than me.
No, he's too young to know the real name.
Oh, what's the real name?
The original name of Highway 54, before it became Highway 54, was Avenida 19 de Junio.
Avenida 19
de Junio.
de Junio.
In 1946, it was named Avenida 19 de Junio. I was watching the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That was a question.
Ang hirap naman ng tanong na yan. That was a very difficult.
You won't believe it, but the contestant was not able to answer. But my houseboy was able to answer.
How come, sir, Mr. President?
He was born that time.
Same day.
He was already alive during that time, 1946. And then in 1950, it became Highway 54. It was changed in 1959 because the reason they named it Highway 54 is because they thought it was 54 kilometers. When I found out that it was not, and it was only 26 kilometers, as you have correctly pointed out,
Yes.
they changed it to Epifanio de los Santos Avenue.
I see. Thank you for that information, Mr. President.
All right.
I did not know that, Mr. President, so now at least we know.
Yes,
The
that
original
will
name of
contribute
EDSA.
to your elevated walkway.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President. Oh, Senator
Senator
Cayetano.
Pia Cayetano is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the indulgence of the senator from Bukidnon, may I ask a few questions and also give my comments?
Absolutely, Mr. President.
Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to commend the gentleman for an amazing idea, presentation. You have my full support. And I'd like to put on record that I don't believe that this is an amendment or just a whimsical advocacy, but this is a necessity that millions and millions of not just Metro Manila residents, but provincial residents from the south and the north will appreciate.